Hi, my name's Jason Illian. You may have seen me on ABC's The Bachelorette. So I got a question for you. Are you looking for true love? Have you ever felt like you didn't get the rose, that your handsome prince or princess may have got the wrong address? You may not always get the rose, or win the heart of that special person. But thankfully, there's someone who loves you unconditionally, for who you are on the inside, not for how much money you make, not for how good looking you are or any of your accomplishments. I've discovered true love is based on something much deeper. It's based on the truth found in the Bible. You'll be surprised at what the Bible has to say about life, love, and even rejection, about being chosen, loved for who you are no matter what. There's more than true love than getting a rose. Are you open to finding it? Check out the Bible. For more information, you can find it at myfaithinlife.com. My faith certainly has an impact on my values. Up to this point in my life, I haven't had sex, and that's a virtue for me because it's something that I want to share in a personal, intimate relationship with somebody.
Hi there.
How are you doing, beautiful?
Good, how are you?
It's nice to finally meet you.
Nice to finally meet you.
A body's not a carnival ride, it's a gift. And I'm bringing it to the table in hopes that if it's Jen, that she's going to get to enjoy this gift.
I'm from New York and
She's joined by a man of strong spiritual conviction who appeared on The Bachelorette to make a statement about what love should truly be about. He boldly voices his commitment to sexual purity and a godly understanding of love, and I'm so glad that Barlow Girl and guys like him are really taking this stand as well. So please give it up.
And welcome Linda Randall and Jason Illian.
Okay, so you're a motivational speaker, right? So can you get motivated and announce the award for the Praise and Worship Album of the Year?
I'll do what I can. So tonight, my friends, here are the nominees.
Arriving, Chris Tomlin. Carried Me, The Worship Project, Jeremy Camp. Devotion, Newsboys. Let the Worshipers Arise, Phillips, Craig, and Dean. Open Up the Gates, Planet Shakers.
And the award this evening for the Praise and Worship Album of the Year goes to...
And the winner, Chris Tomlin and Cash, Six Step Records.
Well, if you're into watching reality TV, you've probably watched The Bachelorette. Now, this is where one woman gets to at least try to choose a husband from 25 bachelors. What you usually don't see on these shows, however, is a commitment to purity. That is until Jason Illian showed up on the scene. And Jason, you're joining us now. How did a nice guy like you end up on a show like this?
It was a crazy, wild experience, really. You know, to be honest, I hadn't watched much reality television, much less The Bachelor or Bachelorette. It's not really a guy thing. It was like, you don't see guys get together, hey, let's watch The Bachelor.
Exactly.
And I'd come home from speaking one night, and they actually had one of the show where Jesse Palmer, he's the quarterback for the Giants, was on there. And he was on a group date. Now, after being on a group date, I can tell you why we don't do this in the real world. But anyways, one of the girls asked him, why are you doing this? He goes, I get tired of waking up every morning with a different girl, not knowing her name or where I am. And I was just mortified. I was like, really, is this really the standard that we're setting for dating?
So this is what young guys are looking up to, thinking this is dating.
Exactly. This is what girls think that they have to do, and this is what guys think that they can do. And I was telling my friend about it, and he's like, well, if you think you can do better, why don't you send your application? And I'm like, well, maybe I will.
Ooh, a dare.
Yeah, a dare. You know, guys are real competitive.
Yeah.
And so I did, and, you know, next thing I know, ABC called and said, hey, do you want to come on the show? And
you're on The Bachelorette.
I was on The Bachelorette, yeah.
So what happened when you got there? Did you and Jenna hit it off, and what about the commitment to purity?
Well, you know, it's kind of ironic because on the show they kind of spin it as like, you know, it came across as a curveball. He threw me a curveball when he says he was saving himself for marriage. But the reality was is she chose the top 25 guys.
So she chose you.
So she knew.
Okay.
She knew off the bat that I had a commitment to saving myself for marriage. And, you know, even if you're not a believer, it just simply makes sense. The deepest level of physical intimacy should go with the deepest level of physical commitment. And because when those two are thrown off, you're going to create an imbalance, a very dangerous imbalance. And I think a lot of dating couples experience that right now.
And what did she say when you actually presented her with this? The fact that you were committed to abstinence.
Yeah. When we first talked about it face to face, you could tell, first of all, she was a little nervous about the whole thing, because this is probably not a conversation that you hear from many guys anymore, unfortunately. But she said that was admirable. You know, not a lot of guys do that. But in her interview afterwards, she simply said, I just thought it was too stringent and not applicable to today's environment.
Let's talk about that. Where does your motivation and your inspiration come from to have this commitment to purity?
That never been spoken to before. He was a leader to people. Great leaders, simply what they do is they deflect credit and they accept all the blame when something goes wrong. And you don't see a lot of those leaders in relationships or in business.
Speaking of being a leader, that's what you've become. A lot of people are looking up to you and they're listening to you. And I understand that when Jenna said no to you, a lot of other women started emailing saying, you're the perfect guy.
Right, yeah, I had a lot of perfect people all of a sudden. I didn't know. You know, the best thing about all the emails is they had one consistent theme, and it's like, you gave us hope. Like, we've felt for a long time there's a different way to date and simply accept to sleep around, but you finally showed it to us, you know, and I think that's what people are looking for. It's like, hey, there is a different way to do this. You don't have to sleep around. You can actually get to know somebody emotionally and spiritually and intellectually, knowing that the best part of the physical stuff will be there in a marriage relationship.
And that's the important thing, isn't it? I mean, when you step away from the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, which is kind of superficial sometimes, they're looking at surface stuff.
Right.
What are you looking for?
First of all, I think what people, guys and girls alike, both need to understand is sex is a wonderful thing. I'm all for sex. Like, abstinence for me is not a lifelong goal. You know? I'm just trying to keep it in perspective and keep it inside the framework it was designed to be. And I'm looking for a woman that's passionate about life. She's confident in who she is. She's intelligent, not just book-wise, but you know, in the things around her, in that she's willing to have compassion on all the people around her. She can dine with princes or with beggars. It makes no difference.
Get ready for a whole bunch of emails. A lot of women will probably be writing.
We'll deal with that as it comes.
All right, Jason, Illian, such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
The perfect man, we found him. There is one that exists in this world, Jason, and we found him. Can you imagine the emails we're going to get? This guy is fabulous.
He is fabulous, and it was just so refreshing to speak with him because it just shows there are still great guys out there.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, not to put other guys down, but sometimes the world looks at the virgins as the geeky guys, you know, and this guy is, I mean, as handsome as all get out.
Oh, I know.
And
it's
strong
to Jesus, too, because as he said, Jesus is the role model for men nowadays. He was a man's man. There were times when he got tough. He really had to stand his ground, and there were other times when he was compassionate and gentle enough where even the little children would come to him. So he was the perfect example of
Some very
a man.
practical things to share too, I think, about, you know, why the sexual relationship was meant for within the confines of marriage. And he just seems so on the money about really being able to explore another person, understand what they're thinking and feeling, where they're coming from, without having the complication of that whole physical.
Well, once you cross that line, oh, and you can't ever go